the number of sets that are optimal to build muscle is going to depend on several things, okay? Hey guys, Mark McKillier here with Live Anabolic, and today I want to talk to you guys about how many sets you need to do to build muscle. And especially for us older guys after 50, you know, this can get a little complicated. So you might want to take out a paper and a pen and take some notes, because I'm going to cover a lot of different concepts today. And then also one of the things I want to get across to you is that this is not an exact science, okay? Lots and lots of studies out there, and it kind of varies all over the place. But I'm going to give you guys some good rules of thumb to follow. And then also I'm going to not just tell you the number, okay, and say, see you later. I'm going to talk about the concepts and why we come up with these different things. So first of all, I need to define a set and a rep. And so we're going to get into that in just a minute. And then also you're going to notice that I'm talking about volume. And volume is something that pertains to the specific workout that you're doing, the specific exercise within that workout, and volume also pertains to how much you do over the course of a week. So that's also kind of a vague term, and we're going to get into that in just a minute. But before I kind of go through all the different definitions and explain how many sets you guys need to be shooting for to really optimize muscle growth, I just want to quickly remind you about a free resource we have. It's our Facebook group. So check out the link below this video. Even if you're not a big Facebook fan, I don't care. Just experiment, try it out. You don't have to use your name. You don't have to use a picture of yourself. You can be anonymous. But we have thousands of men all over the world. Great guys. I'm the moderator, so I log on typically a couple times a day, and I'm answering questions and I'm posting videos, and of course everybody else is chipping in. So it's a phenomenal community of guys. Most of them, I would say, are in their 50s and 60s, but we also have guys in their 40s and 70s and 80s. So pretty much everybody that's a man out there over the age of 40, we got them covered in this group. So please check it out. I promise you will not regret it. Okay, so let me start off with doing some real basic definitions here. And a lot of you guys know what these mean already, but there's still plenty of new people to the channel here who don't really know exactly what a set and a rep is. So I'll use bicep curls, okay, as an example, because that's a real easy way to kind of, you know, mentally understand what I'm talking about. So every time you raise a dumbbell, all right, in your arm doing a bicep curl, that is a repetition. So I go down and up, that's one rep, all right? Now I might do 10 reps, all right? And then I get close to failure and I have to stop and put it down because I just can't do anymore. Well, that is one set. So that is one set of 10 reps, all right? So today we're really talking about how many sets we need to do, okay? And when I say sets, I typically am talking about how many sets you do for a particular body part, a muscle group, okay? Because when we're trying to build muscle, it's not just about doing an individual exercise for our bicep. Typically, you'll be doing multiple different exercises for that one muscle group, okay? And so each exercise will be calling out for you in your workout program how many reps to do and how many sets to do, okay? So that's what a set is, and that's what a rep is. And before I even go further, I want you to realize that the best rep range per set is typically around 8 to 12. And the reason I come up with that number is because countless studies have basically confirmed what the previous studies said. So if you pick a weight that's a little too heavy and you can only get to 7 reps before you have to stop, okay, that's okay. 7 is basically 8. Remember, it's not an exact science, all right? So if you're doing at least 6 or 7 reps and as many as 12 to 15, you're within that honey hole, okay? That's the optimal range of reps per set to build muscle. Now, building strength and strength alone is a different video, I'll talk about that another time. But really, what we want to do is we want to build muscle. And when you build muscle, you're definitely going to get stronger, okay? So this is what I do. I only look for muscle hypertrophy, which is muscle growth, okay? So we got the kind of the difference between a set and a rep, and the number of sets that are optimal to build muscle is going to depend on several things, okay? It depends on our conditioning, our age, and the intensity that you're putting into your workouts. I mean, there's a lot of variables that go into giving you guys an answer. And that's why this video is kind of tough to shoot, is because there is not an answer. There's lots of different answers. So I want to cover all these variables, and then that way you guys can modify the answer for your age, your conditioning, and the amount of intensity that you put into your workouts. So continuing with this same thought that we're on right now, and that is, generally speaking, if you're in really good condition, you've been working out for a while, and when I mean a while, I mean at least a year, okay? So your muscles, your body has come near a plateau, all right? And so you're ready to push yourself hard. So if you're in that kind of condition, the number of sets you need to do to build muscle is obviously going to be higher than for a complete newbie beginner coming in, okay? So that affects the optimal number of sets. Your age, all right? So when you're 25 years old, you're going to need to do more sets than somebody who's 59-year-old like me, all right? So the age thing will definitely affect the number of sets you need to do, because when you're young, you have more testosterone and your body heals faster. So your body can just take more beating, more volume. When we get older, our testosterone's just naturally lower and it takes us longer to recover, so we just don't want to overdo things. But guys, one thing I want you to remember is you can still get in fantastic shape when you're my age, when you're 59, 69, okay? Doesn't matter. So if you're in really good condition, you can do almost as many sets as a 25-year-old, okay? So the condition, your age, and then of course finally the intensity depends on how many sets you need to do to build muscle. So if you're just kind of going through the motions, if you're just kind of doing your curls, and all right, and you put them down, and you finish that set, but you didn't even come close to failure, meaning you weren't completely fatigued on the last few reps, that means you're not pushing it very hard. And if you're not pushing it very hard, you need to do more sets, right? If you're going all out every single set, you're just dying on the last 1 or 2 reps, you can barely make it, then you don't need to do as many sets, all right? So those are several variables, and I don't have an exact answer, at least not yet. Later in the video, I'm gonna give you some numbers, some actual real numbers, okay, to consider if you're trying to design your own workout program. Okay, let's move on to a different concept, and that is the number of sets that you need to do depends on what muscle group you're working. So one answer doesn't fit everybody, and it doesn't fit every muscle group on each individual person. So generally speaking, the smaller the muscle that you're working, the fewer number of sets you need to do. And that might just be kind of common sense for most of you guys, but if you're doing an isolation movement, let's say once again I'm doing bicep curls. I mean, this is a small muscle compared to all the other muscles in your body. I mean, you have several small muscle groups. You got your biceps are small, your triceps are pretty small, your shoulders are pretty small. So those muscle groups don't require as many sets as when you're doing a big muscle group like your legs or your back or your chest, okay? So the bigger the muscle group, the more muscles that are involved, generally speaking, the more sets you need to do. So I'm just gonna kind of throw out a few numbers here. So guys, if you're doing a small muscle group, biceps, triceps, shoulders, okay, I would say typically 6 sets to 8 sets per workout. Now, it also depends on how many times you're hitting that muscle group per week, okay? So if you're only gonna do your arms once a week, all right, then obviously I want you to err on the higher side. You probably need to do more like 8 sets for each muscle group, all right? If you're only gonna hit those muscles once a week, but if you're doing them twice a week, or let's say you're doing a 5-day split, so every 5 days you repeat your workout, you know, that's more often than once a week, okay? So you don't need as many, but if you're only doing it once a week and then you start all over again, you need to do more volume, more sets, all right? So then you need to err kind of on the 8 sets per body part for the small muscle groups. And then on the big muscle groups, like your back, your chest, your legs, shoot for 12 to 16 sets. Now, I know that sounds like a lot, but guys, your legs, big muscles, lots of joints involved, lots of different muscles involved. And there's just no way to totally fatigue your legs if you're only doing 6 to 8 sets. So typically what I want you to do is you do several different exercises that target your legs, and then you might do 3 to 4 sets per exercise, and then you might do 3, 4, 5 different exercises, and that's how you get the total number of sets. And once again, it also depends on, are you hitting your legs only once a week, or are you hitting them twice a week? So if you're hitting them twice a week, probably no more than about 12 sets per workout, okay? But if you're only going once a week, you need to bump it up. You know, probably do, 16 sets total. Okay, the third concept I want you to kind of consider if you're kind of creating your own workout program, and that is the intensity. How hard are you really pushing yourself? So that's gonna affect the number of sets that you do per body part, in addition to your age and the type of muscle group you're working. How big or how small is that muscle group? So if you're going really hardcore, super intense on all the sets, you're either going to failure on every set or close to failure on every set, then obviously you don't need to do as many sets, okay? Now, that's not gonna apply to many of you guys watching this video today. Very, very few of you guys out there are killing yourself every single set, all right? So you guys are probably working out much more moderately, okay? And that's fine. There is nothing wrong with that. Matter of fact, that's what I recommend for most guys as we get older, kind of a moderate intensity level. But because of that, you're gonna need to up the volume, which means more sets, all right? And then how do you measure intensity? Well, that's also a really vague concept, right? So let me just kind of give you just kind of a generic way to think about it. If you're shooting for, say, 12 reps per set, and you get to that 12th rep and you put the weight down, and you know, really, if you had to, you could have done 2, 3, maybe 4 more reps. That's just moderate intensity, which is just fine, okay? So if you're doing your workouts like that, and the vast majority of you guys watching right now are working out that way, then remember, you need to do more sets, all right? It's just no other way to build muscle than to push yourself really hard or to do more volume to make up for the lack of intensity. Okay, this is the final thing I want to talk to you guys about today, and that is intensity. I'm kind of carrying over from the previous. So I'm on the Facebook group a lot, and I get a lot of questions. How many sets do I need to do to build my arms up? My arms aren't very big. I'm doing 3 sets right now, Mark. Is that enough? Okay. Well, and I also see videos of some of you guys working out, and I can watch a video, all right, especially if I can see your facial expressions. And I can measure, internally the intensity, how much effort you're putting in to the set, and of course I can count the reps. So guys, most of us, not just us older guys, this applies to the younger guys I see working out at the gym too. All right, most of us don't put enough effort or enough intensity into our workouts. And there's a reason for that, because going hard and super intense hurts. Remember the old saying, no pain, no gain? Well, that's really what this is about. The intensity is the no pain, no gain thing. So guys, you don't want to go real hard and intense when you're just starting. And that's why my Fit After 50 program, if you read my directions, especially the first phase, man, I tell you right up front, do not push yourself real hard. Okay, I tell you to use relatively light weights. doing it for 15 reps, and when you get to the 15th rep, you should not be at failure. You shouldn't be even close to failure at that 15th rep. And then my instructions change as you go throughout my program. Phase 2 has a different recommendation. Phase 3 is a different, and even phase 4 gets much more radical. But because it hurts, and because it's no fun to push yourself to failure, most of us aren't going real hard. And like I said earlier, that's not necessarily wrong, okay? But it does mean that probably, if you're just working out on your own and making up your own workouts, you're probably not doing enough sets, okay? And I gave you some examples earlier. Remember, small muscle groups only need 6 to 8 sets, whereas bigger muscle groups typically 12 to 16. And then of course you can adjust upwards or downwards from there depending on if you're only doing them once a week or twice a week. No pain, no gain. Intensity, I've been talking about that, going to failure and what failure means. So a lot of guys think that when you're doing your workouts, and your workout might say doing 3 sets of a particular exercise, not for the entire muscle group, just that one exercise. A lot of guys realize that if you're gonna do 1 set to failure, it's typically the last set. So the first 2 sets, you're putting effort into it. You're close to failure, but you're stopping, and you know you still got 1 or 2 reps left in you, okay? But that last set is a great time to push yourself until you can't do another rep. I mean, absolute total failure. That is the norm. Then you move on to the next exercise. And the next exercise, you might be doing 3 sets of whatever that is. Once again, the first couple of sets, you're getting close to failure, but you're not killing yourself. It's the last set that you go to failure. That's a real typical way that guys like to do their workouts. I do that a lot myself, but it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to go to failure just on the last set. If you're feeling particularly good and a lot of energy, you can go to failure every set. Now, don't do that every single week. Don't do every single workout to failure every single week. You know, your body literally will just break down and it'll start affecting your central nervous system. But you know, that last set of each exercise going to failure is fine. Sometimes you might do it on a middle set, like the second set, all right? Doesn't matter, guys. But I do recommend that you pick at least 1 set on each muscle group, and typically on each exercise for each muscle group. Try going to failure. I promise that will make you see phenomenal results. And then of course, finally, guys, you can't just do these concepts for a few weeks and expect fantastic results. But if you stick with it and never give up on yourself, I promise, no matter how old you are, you will be able to build some really impressive muscle.